Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today we're doing the Survivor Season 25 tier list. It's the end of Season 25. This is going to be more about tournaments. You can use anyone really in rank. Um, you can read here what I put the tiers as, but I will quickly explain them. Needs no help to be good means, well, they don't really need that much help to be good. Good most of the time means you can really use them in most team comps, and you can perform with them. Niche slash team comp dependent. What I mean by this is that there are just gonna be some survivors that you need they need help, or they have specific uh, advantages that only work with other survivors. And then strategy must be built around the serve. I think it's obvious. We'll go over those when we go over those. It doesn't function for tournaments. Any survivor can function in rank. You can rank with Lucky Guy or whoever, and you can find some success with them. But that doesn't mean that they're really that viable for a tournament. So we're gonna go. I already spoiled them, so we're just gonna move Lucky Guy there. He has 2 items, yes, but the fact is that his items are weaker, and you're just better. He's luck dependent. Like if the hunter spawns on top of you, and you wish and you get a syringe, that's not gonna help you. You're just fucked. And sure, you can get like flare guns and stuff, and you can pass the flare gun off to a cord so that you get double boosted flare guns. That's cool and all, but it doesn't really change the fact that Lucky Guy's weak because of the fact that because of how he works, basically. His items are weaker, all that. So anyway, that's why Lucky Guy is down here. Now we're gonna move on and go in order. Doctor is pretty niche. She can work. Don't get me wrong, but she's just outclassed by 2 other survivors. Barmaid and Psychologist just do her job better, so she's just kind of stuck in niche slash team comp dependent. Lawyer, there are uses for Lawyer. I can't say that he is Actually, I think we're gonna move him down here. Lawyer has a very good niche, really, really good niche. As in, he's amazing if you're new to the game. Because Lawyer has no weaknesses, and he can kind of kite. He doesn't get terror shocked. He can see where the hunter is with his map at all times, and his Cypher Rush is pretty decent. He's a really good survivor if you're solo ranking, or if you're new to the game and you need to really learn the basics. He's really great for that. But outside of that, he's just kind of meh. His Cypher Rush is only okay, and he doesn't really have a lot of strengths that other survivors can't easily do a lot better than him. So that's why he's going to be at the bottom. Although, there's no such thing as really necessarily bad survivor. Next up is Thief. Thief is going to go good for most of the time. He's recently seen a lot of play for a lot of really good reasons. Thief is just really good against a lot of the really good hunters that are played a lot. Specifically, Naiad and Bonbon, Thief is pretty good against. And also, he's pretty good against Geisha. Those 3 right there are played a lot in tournament and in rank too. So that's why he's going to go up in here, because he counters a very commonly played hunters. Next up is Gardener. Gardener has one really good strategy, and that is that she counters Bloody Queen. Other than that, I mean, she also counters Mad Eyes, I guess. But there's not really much else to her. If you need a Bloody Queen counter, Gardener is great for that. And also, there are a couple of areas in maps where she can dismantle a couple of chairs and really help out. But yeah, other than that, that's a really good use. Don't get me wrong. It's really good that she counters Bloody Queen when she's one of the most used TIE farms out there. But that's all she's got going for her. Magician's pretty good. There are just better options than him, so he's kind of niche. He's really good in really late rounds, which is kind of what niche means. is when you got like 10 survivors banned. It's not 10, but you know what I mean. When there's like just a fuck ton of serves banned, Magician can be a really good last pick. He kites decently. He can break ankles. Yeah, he's pretty good. Next up is Explorer. Explorer can hide, but the problem is that he gets countered by a specific persona tree called Hunter's Instinct, where if the hunter goes to him first, all they need to do is figure out when Hunter's Instinct is no longer active, and then they'll know exactly where the Explorer is. So his Cyber Rush is also just kind of meh. It's very luck dependent, but technically, yeah, there are strategies to using him. It's just really, really niche. There's an argument to be made that he's down here, but because there are a couple of strategies that really use Explorer pretty decently, he's just going to stick right at the bottom of this tier. Give me 1 second to fix that. Okay. Next up is Mercenary. Most stable rescue. There isn't really a lot to say about Mercenary. You all probably know that he's pretty fucking good. It's really hard to stuff a Mercenary, and that's what makes it so great, is that he's just a very, very stable rescuer. Coordinator is a little niche. She used to be up here. She was up here for the longest time, and like, I guess it's the equivalent of A tier. She's kind of fallen off a bit. She's really good against Bonbon, and that's about it. Her gun's one-time use, which does kind of suck. She does have a boost to her vaulting and pallet throwing, which is nice. There's just better picks out there than her. She gets outclassed by other stunners, so that's why she's just kind of stuck in niche. Priestess is also really good. There's a reason why every top hunter will ban her, for the most part. In tournaments, sometimes there are other priorities, but if you're playing rank, Priestess is almost always banned for good reasons. She's just so good. Her support also is fantastic. She just isn't really used on Arms Factory, but every other map, she can make a lot. She can do a lot of work for you. She's really, really good. Mechanic has one thing going for her, and that is that if she's able to hide bot, then you're basically guaranteed a draw on a good team. Because Mechanic Cypher Rush, even after all of her nerfs, is still good enough to guarantee a tie, which is really, really nice for tournaments. And so Mechanic is just really solid. She used to be up here, but because of her nerfs, she is closer to down here. Actually, I'll put her above Thief. But yeah, Mechanic, pretty good. Next up is Forward. Forward was up here for a while. He used to be the best survivor. He's now down here. The persona changes made to Hunter personas have really hurt Forward a lot, because he really relied on getting the stunts during the pickup animation, so that there wouldn't be a drop animation played when he stunned the Hunter. But now there are just better options than him, and he's still good. It's just that he's hard to use, and he's not a priority anymore. So that's why he's now stuck in A tier. Next up is Mind's Eye. There is a specific strategy with Mind's Eye that's pretty good. In tournament, if you need one person out, Japan teams love using Mind's Eye. I've seen it happen before, I promise you. She's not necessarily good, but her Cypher Rush is good enough to where if she isn't first chase, she can guarantee a tie. Or at least a one escape. And that alone can be quite solid. Especially if you pair up with like another really fast decoder. You just sacrifice first chair and you can almost force out a one-man escape that way. And so that is and so that's why she's in. She's usable in tournaments for that one strategy, and that's it. Next up is Perfumer. Perfumer used to be really good. She was really good for a long time. But the problem is that she now feeds presence and she gets countered by most of the meta hunters. She gets countered by Wax Artist, Clerk, Dream Witch. Well, actually, I guess she's alright against Dream Witch, but she gets really badly countered by Clerk and Wax Artist. And also she doesn't do good against Bonbon and Naiad, and those are the top 4 hunters right there. Outside of Dream Witch and Clerk, those Wax Artist, Bonbon, and Naiad are the most commonly played hunters in tournament. And she gets countered by them. So that's why she's stuck in niche. Next up is Cowboy. Cowboy is a decent enough late game harasser. There are just better options. So he's pretty decent when everyone else is banned. But you still really want that harasser for like a surprise clerk or something. Cowboy can do some work. He's also counters Bonbon, which is pretty nice. Bonbon is very commonly played. And so that's why he's pretty here in niche, where he can do some work, but he just isn't as good as up here or even the people above him. Next up is Female Dancer. Female Dancer is really good. Her support with boxes is amazing. Her kiting potential is pretty good if she has time to set up her boxes. And on some maps, there are some really crazy loops that you can do with boxes if you know what you're doing. And there's a reason why we're seeing a lot of Dancer bans in tournaments. In rank, she isn't as good because her strong suits are really from communication. But she is still really strong despite that. And when you have formula communication, she might even be up here sometimes. But yeah. Really, really, really good. Seer is a free hit for anyone, and that's always going to be good. Of course, he's gotten nerfed, so he's only up here kind of weakly. He's the weakest survivor to be up in needs no help to be good, just because his kiting is weak once the owl is gone. But his support is just a free hit is a free hit. And you can't really complain about that. And he also is really good against Clerk, Dream Witch, Wax Artist. And so he is pretty comfortably still up there just because he counters those 3. Next up is Embalmer. Embalmer is really good if you're trying to force a tie. The Embalmer mechanic duo is really hard to win against. So there are a lot of uses for him. He's going to be definitely at the top of this. He is on edge of being good most of the time. It's just that he's kind of map and team comp dependent, because you can only really play him if everyone else is a really strong kiter. Because Embalmer's going to be found first, and then he's going to go down in like 10 seconds because he has literally nothing to kite with. And so that can be really rough. Next up is Prospector. Prospector is pretty damn good. He's of course getting nerfed, and so once his nerf comes in, he's gonna go down a bit. But even still, I still think magnet support is gonna be really strong, and he's used a lot because his magnets can buy so much time. It's insane what good prospectors can do. There's all sorts of tricks that you can use. It's just crazy. Next up is Enchantress. Enchantress is pretty niche. Not gonna lie. Her rebound potential is pretty good. It's just that she gets countered by quite a few hunters, especially Wax Artist. Wax Artist just fucking bodies Enchantress, and there's nothing she can do about it. And since he's very commonly played, she's just kinda gonna always be stuck down here. Where, like, in a late round where you ban Wax Artist, sure, there are some uses for her, but she also, like, she's good against Bloody Queen, especially, and Geisha as well, and those 2 are pretty commonly played. It's just that there's the hunters that she gets countered by is gonna keep her down here, unfortunately. Wilding, I don't get the hype behind Wilding, gonna be honest. Uh, like, I see him used sometimes, and I get that he's unchaseable, but his harassment is kind of mediocre, and his rescue potential is just okay, in my opinion. Like, if you play Wilding, good for you. I know OM plays him in co-op. I don't understand the hype though. He's too niche for me, especially after his nerfs all the way back in like 2021. He just isn't as good anymore. It's kind of sad. Acrobat is just a really strong kiter and can provide decent support. So yeah, he's pretty good. He also has a few trick jumps on a few maps that make him like the best kiter on those maps. He just opens the gate slowly, which really hurts him. I have seen personally that slow gate opening affects so many games. It's insane. So yeah, Acrobat is just gonna kinda have to stick around here. First Officer is First Officer has a very specific use, and that is that he's like good when Mercenary's banned, and Mercenary's banned all the time. And then also, First Officer is really good against very campy hunters like Bon, Wax Artist, those kind of hunters. He's pretty good against. And so that's why he is going to be the top of good most of the time. Having someone who knows both Mercenary and First Officer is required if you want to perform well on a team. Barmaid? Barmaid is pretty good at the moment. She's a decent kiter. She provides decent enough support. She counters Dream Witch. She gets kinda countered by Wax Artist, but you can use Flywheel to fix up a lot of Barmaid's problems. So she gets to stay pretty comfortably in good most of the time. Next up is Postman. Where do I want to put Postman? Postman used to be really good, but his nerfs have made him kinda niche. His dog is still really fucking annoying. Don't get me wrong. It's just that his Cypher Rush isn't as good anymore, and his other letters are just kinda mediocre. But yeah, he's still... There's still uses for him. You can make him work. He's just kinda niche. Next up is Gravekeeper. Gravekeeper is gonna be the bottom of good most of the time. He has his uses. He just isn't as good as First Officer or Mercenary. You pick him of those two are banned and you really need a rescuer. It's like, fine, we'll take Gravekeeper, I guess. And so, like, that's his main issue, is why would you use him if you have access to First Officer and Mercenary, especially since he feeds presence. He gets countered by a few hunters. He counters Wax Artist pretty decently, which is nice. But he gets countered by Bon. He's like... The main thing is that hunters are fine chasing Gravekeeper first. They usually won't chase a First Officer or Mercenary first. And so that's why he's just good. But he isn't as good as Mercenary or First Officer. Next up is Prisoner. Prisoner's really good in rank. He's the most used survivor in China rank. But in a tournament setting, not so much. His Cypher Rush is only okay, and his kiting is way overrated. So he's just kinda stuck in niche. For tournaments at least. You can use him in rank and find a lot of success with him. It's just that for tournaments specifically, he is kinda niche, and there are just better options. Entomologist is really, really good. She used to be broken, but she isn't anymore, so she's just pretty good. Her bee support is really strong. Her kiting is really strong. Especially since she can rotate and she goes really fast on the bees. So yeah, she is really good. And there's not much else to say other than the bees are pretty decent. Painter has one specific use, and that is that he pairs really well with Forward. Painter and Forward force out excitement, and then also Painter can last on the chair for a really long time. Because what happens is that basically you want Painter to get first chase, and then once Painter is chaired, Forward can insta-stun and then rescue. And then Painter still has the rest of his chair time because of that whole not going to halfway once insta-rescued. So that has a lot of uses. But outside of that, he's just okay. 2 paintings doesn't buy you a whole lot of time. They're just kind of nice. And also, you have to really expect excitement with him. I swear, so many hunters will bring excitement for Painter. I don't know why. I used to rank with him, and that literally happened every game for me. Next up is Batter. Batter is pretty good. His main issue is just that there are better options than him. The idea is that why would you choose Batter when you have Antiquarian, Prospector, and Forward? And because he's worse than all of them, he's just kinda niche. Next up is Weeping Clown. I don't like Weeping Clown. He gets countered by so many hunters that could just, like, cancel out his rocket. His rocket stun isn't particularly good. And I mean, I guess he's good against fucking Bloody Queen, but that's about it. There's not much else to say about him other than his rocket isn't that great. Again, you can rank with anyone, and you can find success. But in tournaments, Also, I'm gonna put Gardner above Painter. Little Girl. Little Girl is really strong. In the current support meta. Being able to teleport when you think you're gonna get first chase is pretty nice. Being able, the pages can be decent. It's just that she's a bit risky because little girls are known to cancel out attack recoveries. I think though there's a lot that can be done with little girl and that we just aren't seeing it. I think she has a lot of potential. And so I'm going to put her in the niche / team comp dependent because it's really hard to place her because I think she has potential to be up here. It's just that no one has that potential and she is risky because she can really easily cancel out that attack recovery on accident. So she's just going to have to stick in niche for now. I can see it changing though. Novelist is banned in tournaments. And because he fucking breaks the game. Not in the balance sense, but in the fact that he will literally break some phones. So he's going to just stay here. Technically, based on his abilities alone, you'd probably argue him being up here if he was actually used in tournaments. But since he is not, he's going to be doesn't function. Psychologist is really good. She's a good Dream Witch counter. She's an easy 3 hits automatically, which is just nice. She can do a lot with her whistle as well. She can heal chip damage and such. She can heal the rescuers so that they can go in for another rescue, which is pretty good. Yeah, Psychologist is just pretty decent. She's also simple to use if you want to pick someone up who's easy enough in rank. Yeah. Patient. Ironically, Patient, even though Patient and Psychologist have like that little ability where they go together, and I'm probably going to place them right next to each other. Patient in of himself is, how do I put this? He's good. He's just not actually good with Psychologist because they counter opposite hunters. Psychologist is amazing against single hit hunters, while she really struggles against chip hunters. And Patient is the exact opposite, where he's pretty good against chip hunters, but he can really struggle against single hunt hunters who know what they're doing. And so they're both pretty good kiters. They just happen to have very opposite strengths, so you don't really see the combo of having them like lovers dash to each other that much. Although in rank, it does make for a pretty there's a lot of cool stuff you can do in rank with them that just doesn't really work as well in tournaments. Next up is Toy Merchant. Toy Merchant is really good, has really good support. on specific maps. She is on maps where like you can jump either to or from high places, like Moonlit. Leo's Memory is a really good toy merchant map. Lakeside has an infinite, has like a 200, 300-second loop with her. You can use her with your catapults. So she's really good there. It just happens that the rest of, she's the maps where her support isn't as good. She's only decent. She's still decent. Like her catapults are still good, but without any of the really crazy shit, they're only good. And so she's up here for the maps that she's good on, not necessarily every map. And she also really needs team comps that can really utilize her catapults. And so yeah, that's why Toy Merchant is where she is. I'm gonna move forward down there because we have two forwards for some reason. Next up is Professor. Professor is really niche. He's good against a few later round hunters that are commonly used, like Geisha. And so there is reasons to use him. It's just that there are better survivors than him. So he's really good when a bunch of people are banned and you just need someone that will counter like a Geisha main. Then yeah, Professor can do a pretty decent job. You just have to worry about them. You just have to worry about being baited, basically. Antiquarian is really, really good. She's the best harasser at the moment. Yeah, let's put her here. Antiquarian is just such a good kiter and can provide some really good support with her stuns. And she also has the flip as well, which can catch a lot of hunters off guard. And then also it works on doing Moonlit shenanigans and a few other things. So yeah, Antiquarian, there's a reason why she's getting nerfed. She's really, really strong. And last but not least is Composer. Composer is okay. His Cypher Rush is good. His kiting is decent enough. I'm gonna put him in niche though because there are just people who do his job better. He's definitely fun to use, and he's really good on a multiple decoder team comp. The main problem is that he gets countered by a lot of really strong hunters like Bloody Queen, Geisha, Wax Artist, those kinds of hunters. But he's also really good against hunters like Bonbon, who don't really have much options when it comes to closing distance. And so yeah, he's gonna just kind of be stuck around here. So yeah, that should be the entire tier list. Just gonna make sure. Yep, that is everyone. And so thank you all for watching, and enjoy the rest of your morning, evening, or night. Bye, y'all.